Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everybody. So we have today a special guest who is willing to give his valuable time for us to share a few thoughts. Dr. Baby Sam Saamuel is a well-known personality within Oman and even in India. So to introduce Dr. Baby Sam Saamuel, let me invite Ms. Huda Al-Farkani to give a few details.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, students, staff, and external guests. On behalf of CBFS, I invite you for a special guest lecture on an interesting topic, finding the leader in you. We have today with us an eminent speaker, Dr. Baby Sam Saamuel, who had agreed to spare his valuable time to share his thoughts on the topic. Let me now give a brief profile on the speaker. Dr. Baby Sam Saamuel is a social entrepreneur and mentor based in the Sultanate of Oman with more than 21 years of senior management experience in diverse sectors. He holds a doctorate in management studies. His international leadership experience cuts across both for-profits and non-profits and includes domains such as education, design, IT, social outreach, and more. Professionally, Dr. Baby Sam Saamuel is the General Manager of InterTech LLC and Organization Mentor for Trifoil Advertising and Studio.T, and acts as a business advisor for startups and NGOs. As a social entrepreneur, he is the founding president of Anjappam, a social enterprise based in Kerala. As a mentor and award-winning business consultant, Dr. Sam engages with organizations and individuals alike, focusing on personal and business transformations. He is the Vice Chairman of Knowledge Oman, the largest voluntary organization in the nation, and ex-chairman of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. He is also involved with higher education institutes as an advisory committee member and is a member of the Standing Committee Academics under the National Council of Teacher Education, a Government of India enterprise. In addition, he is also a speaker and writer. He is currently a columnist for the Times of Oman and is the author of Malayalam book. Participants, please note that we have a 10-minute question and answer session after the lecture. You can ask questions then or type out of the questions in the chat box. Now, may I request you to kindly mute your microphone during the session. May I now invite Dr. Baby Sam to talk us through the session.
Huda, thank you so much for this warm welcome, warm words of introduction. Thank you, Dr. Binu, for the invite. I hope I'm audible. Dr. Binu, can you confirm?
Yes, you're audible.
Great. It's 8:20 in the morning. It's the best time of the day where we can interact, engage, and discuss a very interesting topic. And I'm so happy to be here today to share
Dr. The
that make
audio
leadership.
Okay, now it's okay. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now you can.
Okay. We'll also gain some on what we consider it as, inspiring leadership and the habits that make leadership an ingrained part of our work, our study, as well as our life. So some of us believe that, leaders are born. Some believe that leaders are made. Okay. So now, as we explore the topic for this morning, finding the leader in you, let us look at two incidents which created history and a great preambles.
There's an audio gap.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, okay. Now it's okay.
Sounds good. So without further ado, let's get into the topic. Let's get into the presentation. And as said, during the end of this presentation, you can note down whatever concerns, and then we'll discuss during the end of this short conversation. Yeah, let me try sharing the screen now. Okay.
Yes.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Excellent. So as I said, we will be going through, or rather, we'll taking up two examples or two incidents that has created history and are great examples of, agile leadership. Now, Apollo 13. This is an epic lunar mission launched 51 years ago on April 11, 1970. I'm not talking about Apollo 11 that landed the first man on moon. I'm talking about Apollo 13, dubbed as NASA's successful failure. This is a story of true courage, determination, and grit, and it's one of the greatest adventures in space history. So the background is like this. After the successful moon mission of Apollo 8 and 11, Apollo 13 was the 7th crewed mission in the Apollo program and was supposed to be the 3rd human moon landing. So, as said before, on 11th, 1970, NASA launched Apollo 13 mission from Kennedy Space Center, United States, expecting a smooth success. And the craft is carrying 3 members: Jim Lovell, who is a mission commander; John, who was the command module pilot; and Fred Hayes, who is a lunar module pilot. And Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes were slated to be the 5th and the 6th man on the moon. But 56 hours into this flight and 330,000 kilometers from Earth, and during a routine performance check, there was an explosion. One of the oxygen tanks exploded and the other one began leaking. So the service module's carefully scheduled supply of electricity, light, and water, which is supposed to be the most precious asset on a space flight, was completely lost. So the spacecraft has now 2 problems. A, there wasn't enough oxygen for the entire crew to come back or for a return trip. Another one, there wasn't enough electricity. And as you all know, if you don't have oxygen, they get exposed to dangerously high amount of carbon dioxide, and we lose these 3 men in the space flight. But we are talking about today about a great example of agile leadership here. On Earth, we had Jane Krenz with the white team, Glein with the black team, Milt, he was representing or leading the maroon team, and Jerry, the gold team. And of course, on the spacecraft, we had Mission Commander Jim Lovell, along with John and Fred. Now, if you have watched this movie, Apollo 13, that's a Tom Hanks movie, it may feel like the story is all about Mission Commander Jim and the Flight Director Jen. But in reality, a host of excellent leaders across the organization came together to bring about this success. And how did they do that? The first thing was to prioritize, establishing a new priority. Within minutes of the explosion, there was a reprioritization of the mission. The original objective of landing the moon, was totally abandoned. And the new mission is to return these 3 astronauts safely to Earth. It was more of a rescue mission now than landing on moon. And there was only one single-minded, life and death focus on managing the resources and controlling the spacecraft's trajectory. So, and from the NASA side, despite all the money and the vast resources dedicated to this project, NASA didn't worry about anything other than saving the crew. No hesitancy, no doubt, and the entire focus now pinpointed on the task at hand, which is to rescue and ensure that these 3 men reach back Earth safely. For that, the first and foremost thing that they have done was to establish a clear communication. And that's something that is essential for a team, especially during a time of crisis. With Apollo 13, mission control needed to give the crew clear and constant communication. And as you all know, there are different departments who are coordinating this entire mission, and all of them have some input or the other to be given to the crews. But not this. Communication with Apollo 13 spacecraft was channeled through one team member from the mission control, known as the CAPCOM, or the capsule communicator. They established a single line of communication which ensured not only timely, specific, and clear information was given with clarity. All right? The next is collaboration and teamwork. All brains in the game. People from across the organization, people who are not even part of this mission, and even external organization, even vendors, all rush to the NASA headquarters, trying to solve the crisis at hand. People who shut themselves in a room to work on troubleshooting the problems, not just for hours, for days together. And the collaboration also rose from the immense commitment and sense of ownership each of the team members felt towards their organization as well towards a mission. The collaboration and teamwork. Now comes responsive innovation. Let's look at the problem once again. The one problem is you have depleting supply of oxygen and power and accumulation of carbon dioxide. This is one side. Another one, we have a service module which is supposed to do this, which is no more functional. So that part is over. Then we have a functional module within the spacecraft, which had some light and oxygen for sure, but that is very much required to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So we cannot touch it. So this section needs to be shut down, and it will be utilized only when you're re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Then what is left is a lunar module. And lunar module is not meant to be doing this particular activity. And lunar module is supposed to be a lifeboat. So it was a time for a responsive innovation. Thinking about what the LEM can do, or the lunar excursion module can do in this particular scenario, which is not designed for this particular purpose. So completely new procedures have to be written and tested in a simulated environment before giving the direction to the crew members. New processes were created for scrubbing carbon dioxide out of the air. The biggest decisions were analyzed, discussed, and made in the course of minutes. So in simple,
There's an audio missing. Doctor, the audio is missing now.
just a second. What about now?
Yeah. Yes, fine.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, now we can. Yes.
Okay. So innovation took place in 3 days instead of 3 months. That's called responsive innovation. And guess what? It was rated, treated, and marked as a successful failure. And on April 17th, 1970, 4 days after the explosion, the Apollo 13 splashed down the South Pacific Ocean. It is a failure since it never achieved its prime objective of landing on the moon. And it's successful because every single person who worked for NASA pulled together in an astounding feat of teamwork to save the crew. So this is my first story to you this morning. Let's look at the next one. It's a story of US Airways Flight 1549. It's also called the Miracle on the Hudson, and the most successful ditching in aviation history. And this is the background. On 15th of January 2009, New York City, a cold, icy winter day. Temperature was -7 degrees Celsius. US Airways Flight 1549 was embarking for a flight from New York with 150 passengers, 3 crew members, 2 pilots, Captain Chelsea Sullenberger, or otherwise called as Sully, and his co-pilot, Jeff Scales. Everything looked good. Everything was normal, and it happened. Shortly after takeoff, at an altitude of just 3,000 feet, the plane struck a flock of birds, causing power failure in both the engines of the plane. And as a result, the plane started to lose altitude rapidly. This is the crisis in hand. The fate of all 155 people on board and the people in the New York City will be determined by the decision Captain Sully is going to take over the next 208 seconds. And he had a choice to make. A is to try back to the nearest airport, which is LaGuardia, or make a crash landing in the Hudson River. But with both engines down and no time to spare, he chose the water as the only viable option to land. And Sully and his co-pilot avoided a catastrophe by expertly guiding the plane to a perfect water landing, saving the lives of not just 155 passengers, crew members, but also many lives at New York City. How did he do that? Say, through a lifetime of preparation and experience. And Sully believes that his life experiences prior to the emergency landing was a preparation for his success. You know, the flights have ready manuals, okay, available to navigate to such situations. When there is a crisis that such happens, how are you supposed to navigate to the next mode? But when a situation such happens, it is not the time to look at the manuals, isn't it? Captain Sully was already ready and prepared with the knowledge and skills to manage an emergency. Good leaders distinguish themselves by preparing and empowering themselves to handle all kinds of situations with competency and skills. Next is through focus and tunnel vision. The motto was, whatever happens, just fly the plane. So, during the crisis, Captain Sully and Officer Skiles focused only on two things. A, getting the engine started. 2, deciding where to land the plane. So what I'm trying to say is, they reduced the problem down to its basics. Altitude, airspeed, and angle of attack. Our job as leaders is to make complicated simple. As leaders, we need the mental discipline to compartmentalize our minds and focus clearly on the task at hand. So what he did? Delegation. Captain Sully entrusted his co-pilot to work on the engine and to begin the engine restart procedure. So this is what has been given to his co-pilot. Sully then got his opportunity, time in hand, to assess the scenario and take a decision on an emergency landing. He trusted his crew and entrusted them with the responsibility to bracing the passengers for impact and also the emergency evacuation after landing. So clear delegation of responsibility is what we could see in what decision Sully has taken to handle this crisis. So by letting his cabin crew handle with the passengers and letting his co-pilot work on his engines, Captain Sully utilized the strength of his team and thus free to focus on only critical task, deciding where and how to land the plane. Leadership by example. Care for people under responsibility with courage, compassion, and integrity. That is Sully. Captain Sully was the last one off the plane. He was the last one off the life rafts into a ferry. He was the last one off the ferry. Friends, Sully's judgment and skills were matched only by his composure. When I say this, during this 208 seconds, he never raised his voice. He never hesitated. He never panicked or even swore. It was a perfect example of calm, decisive leadership. And this is the miraculous landing on the Hudson River, saving the lives of all 155 passengers and the crew, and countless lives in the city of New York. Within just 3.5 minutes of water landing, the crew could calmly evacuate the passengers onto life rafts and as well on the wings of the plane. A leader needs to be a juggler, a coach, a cheerleader, a salesperson, a firefighter. A leader is not a designation, but it is a role that involves many roles within that particular terminology called leadership. Multitasking diverse tasks and roles. Motivating and guiding the people who look up for you for support. Appreciating and encouraging the people you manage. Sell your idea and vision to your team, to your audience, and to the broader public. A person who manages challenges and solves crises. So leadership is an it comprises of all of these features, all of these elements that we just seen. So what exactly is leadership? It is one of the best definitions that I've come across. A theory scholar by Peter Northouse defines leadership as a process whereby an individual, he could be the chief executive officer or a class representative, influences an entire group of individuals to achieve a common goal. And the way that a leader exerts this influence to get to the target differs from person to person, and this is broadly classified into 10 leadership styles. Motivational, progress-focused and inspirational, could be a visionary leader, humble and protective, authoritarian and result-oriented, autocratic and delegatory, supportive and innovative, helpful and motivational, challenging and communicative, performance-focused, hierarchical and duty-focused. And, these are some of the 10 leadership traits or leadership styles that we commonly see. But today, I would like to focus on one of them, which is transformational leadership. Transformational leadership is defined as a leadership or a leadership approach that causes change not only in individuals as well your social systems. So such a transformational leader sets clear goals. He, of course, has high expectations. They encourage others. They provide support and recognition. That leader, he or she, can still the emotion of people and get others to look beyond their self-interest. They can inspire people to reach for the improbable. And transformational leader would be a model of integrity and fairness. All said and said, how can someone be a transformational leader? With 4 eyes. These are the 4 eyes of transformational leadership. 1, idealized influence. Next, it's inspirational motivation. Then we have intellectual stimulation and individual consideration. What do you mean by idealized influence? Idealized influence is when they be exemplary role models. When they can instill pride, gains respect and trust in associates, hey, this is my leader. So managers, the team leads with idealized influence can be trusted and respected by associates to make good decisions for the organization. So idealized influence is one. The next is inspirational motivation, leaders who encourage innovation and creativity. The ability of a leader to articulate a vision that is appealing and inspiring to all and motivate them to commit to such a vision. The third one is intellectual stimulation. Leaders who challenge assumptions, take risks, and solicit ideas from their team. And leaders with this style encourage motivation, encourage innovation, as well as creativity. They nurture They develop people who think independently. So intellectual stimulation is the next one. And a transformational leader also has this great quality of individual consideration. A leader who acts as coach and advisor and listens, and a good listener listens to their concerns and needs. And such a leader offers empathy and support, respects, celebrate an individual's contribution, and keeps the communication open. So, together, the idealized influence, individual consideration, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation can bring about performance that's beyond expectations. The first step for this is to visualize the plan. Create a vision of the future that's worthy and inspiring. Next is to share that vision with the team. Get them to feel as part of this mission, that's process. They are part of this process, they're part of this mission. Motivate them to buy into and deliver this vision. Third, manage the delivery of the vision. And last is to build an ever stronger, trust-based relationship with the people. We are what we repeatedly do. Practice being one. Start incorporating the habits in your daily life that will enable you to grow professionally and personally. And one of the most important habits that we can practice is to embrace change. Friends, this morning, if you ask me what is the greatest take home that I have from this pandemic, is nothing is constant in this world. Anything can change in this world at any given time. And to survive and to thrive this new world order, we need to be fluid. We need to be malleable. We need to embrace change. We are fixed to our past, always so nostalgic about our past. And this is why we end up many a times with situations like where we are outdated, still resisting change, still insisting that this is how we have always done something. And it is common to feel so. And it also prevents us from moving further. And as I said, to move ahead, we need to adapt. We need to be fluid. We need to be malleable. We need to embrace change and not look at change as an enemy, but as a potential friend. Another crucial habit to have is a growth mindset. Whether you are a leader with a team or a leader waiting to be discovered, adopt a growth mindset. I'm sure that many of you are aware of this concept called the growth mindset. In simple terms, the growth mindset is the understanding that abilities and understanding can be developed. This is about growth mindset. On the other side, fixed mindset is one that assumes abilities and understandings are relatively fixed. So the question here is a leader born or a leader made? Basically, let me repeat this. We are what we believe we are. If we believe we are capable of more, we are. If we believe that this is all whatever can be, this is all what we will be. So it is easy to understand this when we compare growth mindset attitude with a fixed mindset with the example that we have on the screen right now. Example, this is too hard, is a fixed mindset. A person with a growth mindset will say this will take more time and effort. A fixed mindset person will say, I will never figure this out. A growth person with a growth mindset will say, I'll keep trying even when it's hard. It's never too late to learn. What a growth mindset person will say. It is okay if I fail, at least I learned something. I believe in myself. I can't do that, yet I will give it a try. On the contrary, a fixed mindset person, I am either good at something or I can't do it. This problem isn't my fault, it's somebody else's fault. I won't fail if I don't try. I don't need to learn anymore. I give up when I'm frustrated. A growth mindset is crucial for a great leader. Let me repeat this again. If we believe we are capable of more, we are. Leaders take risks, but they take smart, calculated risks. Practice risk taking. Expand your comfort zone. Do new things. Gain experience and expertise by taking calculated risks backed by your preparation and homework. We live in a new world order, as I said. Everything seems to be uncertain, scary sometimes. So focus on what is in your control. It is possible to replace our fear of the unknown by preparing and equipping ourselves mentally. Now consider a space flight. We're talking more about space flight this morning, but still. The smallest technical failure, the smallest error can cost life. If you ask any astronaut, they're eager and often dying to get an opportunity for any space mission. Why is it so? They're not superhumans. They're not super strong. Instead, they are trained so extensively for every possible scenario that they can anticipate, that they know they're prepared to handle the most of the exigencies that come their way. And that's the most important thing. Many of you might think that after this graduation program, that's it, I'm done. No. Keep learning. Keep growing. In today's world, dynamic learning, constant upskilling is a critical necessity. We need to constantly upskill ourselves. We need to better our yesterdays. So approach learning as a lifelong process rather than annual passage of time. It could be a journey of small but continual improvements. Until the beginning of, or the late 2019 or the beginning of 2020, these are the major disruptors ahead of us. The technological innovation that was brought by the fourth industrial revolution. But the last year, we have seen the biggest disruptor of the century. Across the world, COVID has broken patterns, upended long-lasting practices, and brought to life many myths and misconceptions that we were holding up to. The pandemic and the disruptions it has caused offers us the opportunity to reset old practices, our behaviors, our patterns, and habits. Historically, pandemics has forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. So from that perspective, if you look at it, it's a new beginning. It's a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. This is a moment now to start afresh and lay the foundation of conscious, holistic changes. You all might have repeatedly heard the words passion. Find your passion. Passion makes you this, passion makes you that, and the likes. But I say, mere passion alone will not be enough. Find your purpose. Find any purpose. Feel being part of something bigger than yourself. And you will find meaning and value in your life. Passion is about I, me. And purpose is about them and us. So when passion is aligned with purpose, it creates impact. It creates value. The best version of life you can have is one filled with purpose and passion. So make sure you find the right purpose to support your goals and ultimate well-being. For an inspiration, look at the Sustainable Development Goals. We are a world of 7.5 billion. On one hand, we are tackling issues like abject poverty, hunger, lack of drinking water. On the other, humankind is also limitlessly hopeful, probing into the unknown, the space. Even sending out man and machine beyond the boundaries of the space. So as a world and as a global community, as businesses, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as employees, as students, and as individuals, we would need to produce and effect solutions that work towards eradicating poverty and hunger, ensuring good health, providing access to basic needs like drinking water, sanitation, quality education, global sustainability through responsible consumption, clean, affordable energy, sustainable cities and communities, and most importantly, world peace, justice, and self-happiness. Let your vision be to be the change the world so badly needs, to take the human race forward to the next levels. And let this vision be your North Star, your guiding light for every decision you take from now on. So be a leader. So let's lead the way and start being the change that we wish to see in the world. I wish you all the very best. Thank you. And this completes the session. And we have another 10 to 15 minutes max, where we can discuss any questions and queries you have with regard to this presentation or in and around this concept of leadership. Thank you.
After an enlightening and exciting talk by Dr. Baby Sam, the floor is now open for question and answers. You can unmute your mic for asking questions. Alternatively, you can type your questions in the chat box and I can read it out. Yeah, Dr. Fatel?
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to everyone. I am very pleased to join in the middle of the session. I felt like I took a meditation class. Such beautiful, amazing, positive messages in the morning. And I feel totally agree with the message, totally agree with the sentiments. And I'm also a sustainability advocate. So I got, the mention of the SDGs. In fact, I do take wisdom from the likes of Sanguru and, sustainability advocates as well. My question is, I lacked the mental, comparison between the one who fails, he thinks that he's a failure, and the one who thinks that, it's we attempt, we try, and we attempt, and we try again, and we get up again. I mean, we call it the ability to bounce back. But the environment sometimes makes it very hard for you to continue. It's like let down and let down and let down again. So, is there any sources? I do, take a note from meditation a lot, and I feel it's really enlightening and re-energizes, kind of, charging the batteries. But is there a technique that you use, Mr. Dr. Baby, to, strengthen yourself every day, like get that nutritious, the ritual nutrition, I call it, from somewhere? We would like to know your secrets to recharge your batteries, basically.
Thank you for the kind words, Dr. Fatin. And it's very, I think this is a question which is asked in various forms, diverse forms, in most of the presentations. One of the concepts that I personally follow is called PERMA, which is an upcoming concept in positive psychology. As well, I do a personal SWOT all the time. The more and more we use SWOT analysis in our professional lives, I strongly believe SWOT is something which has to start with an individual. Okay, so your strength as an individual, your possibilities, your limitations, and areas of limitations from an external standpoint, as you just said, and the areas that I need to improvise myself. I have a different, take onto this areas of improvisation as well. If you try a survey, which I strongly advocate, I strongly suggest you to take. It's called the VIA character survey. It's the 24 characters that every individual possess. So if you search for 24 character strengths, you can get the link. Go try your survey, and it's a free survey, and it's been used, extensively across organizations from the U.S. Army to the most complex work scenarios. Now, what happens is, like, when you take up this survey, you will end up having 5 signature strengths. So instead of focusing more of your weaknesses, okay, fine. For example, I'm not good at public speaking. You know what? I can't talk. You know what? I'm not good at networking. You know what? I'm not a risk-taking person. You know what? I'm not good at this. So what we do is we try to be the slaves of our weakness. Instead, we never realize what we are really, really good at, or whatever our signature strengths are. So my strong advice, the first thing is viacharacterstrength.org is a website link. Go try to take up this survey, and you end up having 5 character strengths, which is called your signature strength. That's number 1. So that is a strong guiding force, a North Star for you to define your personal SWOT. The next important thing that I follow personally, and which I've come across during the time of pandemic, when I've attended this particular course from the University of Penn, taken by Martin Seligman, who is the father of positive psychology. He has introduced this concept called PERMA. PERMA is positive emotions, engagement, meaningful relationship, meaning in life, and accomplishment. Okay, time doesn't permit me to get in, because that itself is a concept, and it takes at least a couple of hours to get into PERMA as a concept. But I strongly advocate you to look at this concept. There's a lot of reads online on PERMA, but this is life-changing for me personally. Okay, So PERMA is something which I follow, and a SWOT that is done on regular intervals, which helps me stay put. Thank you.
Any other question, participants?
Okay, Doctor, thank you for the wonderful, enlightening talk encompassing all the major areas of leadership and management. Recall the session that you focused on two elements, that is, one is a successful failure and the second one is the miracle on the Hudson River. Both teach us some sort of elements of leadership qualities, especially at the time of crisis. My question is on the, one of the elements of leadership qualities which you mentioned is multitasking. As we totally agree that it's a necessary skill that all leaders and managers should have these days. However, I've read in more than one place that multitasking, as psychologists look at, as it doesn't result without performance deficit. In other words, you cannot do the best of the task you're undertaking if you focus on two elements at the same time. I would like to know, what is your take on this?
I've read the same thing, Dr. Binu, but I'm not saying that I'm not an advocate of multitasking but these are practical scenarios. If you really ask me, as a leader, when you are into situations, if multitasking is called for, we need to do it, and we all do it on our daily lives, in our professional lives, in our personal lives even. We do multitasking. It purely depends on what do we have in hand. The challenge is like, I'm not talking about like multitasking is not something which should be a regular affair. I agree with it. But then if it is called for, we need to. Multitasking could be even delegation, could be one of the multitasking activity, for example. Like you pick up and do something, but at the same time, delegation is one thing, communication is another thing, all encompassing into addressing a particular task, a crisis in hand. There is nothing wrong doing it, but you should be aware of what you are getting into. So it's not a daily affair. It should not be a daily affair. Focus is very critical. Focus is very important. If you make multitasking as a daily affair, you have a challenge. So it will the performance will be definitely affected. But as a leader, if your situation demands the same, there's no harm, and rather I would say you should do multitasking. That's my take onto this.
Thank you, Doctor. I have one more small question, which could be based on a hypothetical scenario. One thing is that, can leaders fail? And perhaps in all realistic sense, leaders sometimes fail. Now, if that happens, how can a failed leader regain the confidence and the trust from his or her followers?
That is exactly the reason why out of the 10 leadership skills or leadership types, we have picked up transformational leadership today, Dr. Binu. One of them, which I strongly advocate and I kind of believe in and I kind of follow, is the transformational leadership. Now, the most important factor of a transformational leadership is, you take your fellow colleagues, you take your associates into confidence on your vision. And when you draft this vision, you have this team along with you to conclude on the vision as well. So once you have a vision concluded together, and if it has a failure, which is reasons could be any, including an external reason for a failure, I think that you don't need to convince your team about why this failure has happened. Rather, take the team together and explore the new opportunity. And I don't think you don't need even if that is the kind of leadership that you follow, You don't need to have even a team meeting to explain why we failed. Rather, they sit together and understand, okay, fine, we have learned something new, and in our next move, we will correct this and move further.
A quick question on the positive messages you placed on flexibility. I mean, we are in a very different times. Things are changing. Uncertainty is becoming the new normal. We have most of the audience today are the youth. They are our students from different programs. One advice that you would like to give to those students regarding, the times to come and how they handle this uncertainty. What is one skill that they should have?
Resilience. Adversities can happen. Things can change. Anything can change tomorrow, but it is the resilience that you need to build upon. Now, how do you build up resilience? Various ways. Could be from a personal point, the way how you build up resilience could be different. But let me point on from a professional standpoint. During the time of pandemic, we had around, I think, our office, we were situated in the CBD area. Our office was literally or almost closed for 5 months. We had a lot of challenges and crises in front as an organization to move further. We didn't have, we couldn't even have a contingency plan in place. We didn't have all our risk mitigation plans have failed. So many things in hand. But I know a friend who started an infotainment portal during this time, and it's grand success today. I know a colleague of mine who has done 18 courses during this time. I know another friend of mine who wanted to study from the best universities in the world. One of his 150s to do was to study from the best 5 universities in the world. You know what? And obviously it's like a very expensive affair, but pandemic has helped him to achieve this goal by taking a course at the Harvards, taking a course at the Oxfords, taking a course at the LSEs and likes. It is all up to us how we take it. But at the end of the day, my advice is, situations changes, things differ tomorrow. You need to befriend change. Change is never an enemy. The moment you look at change as an enemy, we have a challenge. Resilience is one quality that we need to build up. Thank you.
If there is no question, we can conclude the session. Okay, Dr. Baby Sam Saamuel, on behalf of the CBFS, I wish to extend our sincere gratitude to you for the informative and thought-provoking lecture. To the participants, CBFS students, staff, and external guests, we thank you all for your keen interest and careful attendance in the event. Wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctors. So I really would like to extend our sincere gratitude as Ms. Huda was conveying it to you. It is really enlightening, especially for our students and even for the faculty alike, to listen to your sharing your wisdom from your vast experience of various roles. One thing which I would learn, if I take something which I remember from this lesson, is that reduce complex situation to the simple. In fact, that is the biggest challenge of a leader, I believe, to make it simple. So even though the situation is complex, to make it simple and to empower those around us or to delegate, that's perhaps the best a leader can do in the situations. Once again, we are immensely happy that you could join us for this undergraduate program lecture, and wish you all the best. And thank you so much, Dr. Sam.
Thank you, Dr. Bino. Good day.
Bye-bye.